I warmly bring to the podium the man, Dr. Henry Debem, so that he can come and give us his welcome address and, of course, put us through the summit goals. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish I deserve the clap. That's okay.
Okay.
I have my, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. I'm so honored to be here before you and to stand. I hope you're all comfortable. Okay, I will take you through just a two approach for this address. The first one is just to share an illustration of what I call the concept, the basic nature or basic instincts of a man. The basic instincts of a man. That is what every one of us, anybody you meet anywhere, has these two concepts or these two software or these two programs or nature or instincts. They all run in us, like automatically, whether you like it or not. So that will help you by the time I now go into my address, just to help you, to contextualize what I am going to talk about in my address. And I'm going to use most of those terms, for your understanding. So like I said, one, this is a man. All of us are just that. And we are made of two basic instincts or basic nature. The first nature is what we call the lower or inferior nature of man. The lower or the inferior nature or instincts. Then the second one is the higher or superior instincts. So we are made up of these two programs of software running in us, whether we like it or not. Now, about the inferior instinct, the inferior instinct is the one we call the animalistic instinct. It's found basically in the animal kingdom. What you find among the animal kingdom, the jungle, and you can tell that all of us, we all have that animalistic instinct in us. This is what makes us common with the animals. Now, what are they? So those instincts are like the survival instincts, the greed, the selfishness, the intimidation, purposelessness, unfaithfulness, envy, lawlessness. It's all in everyone, right? So those are the things, and you'll find it in maximum display and expression, among the animals. Why the higher or the superior instincts, mainly the reason why we are here, is the one that makes us human beings. And what are those? They are made of three basic instincts. You have the spirituality, the conscience, and the reasoning. This is what outrightly separates us from the animal kingdom. This is what makes us human beings. And the offshoot or the results of all these three major instincts are the humility, self-control, selflessness, compassion, patience, love, hope, discipline. So when you find anyone behaving, showing all these traits, expressing them, you say this person is a human being. At some point, if you find the other one, they'll say, somebody behaves like an animal. It's just because the person expresses most of these instincts. However, you will discover that this is what makes us powerful. This is where the power of a human being belongs. And it's also that trait of a servant leadership. So when you find anyone who exhibits that, that is where the real power. It's not in the political power, it's not in even how rich you are or the socio-economic. No, it's not that. This is where the real power, because of course you all know that it's not easy to thrive at this zone. They discovered that most people, most of us, for one reason or the other, we operate at this lower region. We reach out to our animalistic instincts because it is lower, it is easier to reach. It's the lower hanging fruit. When you bring a child, the first instincts that they start displaying is all these, without even being told. But it's not easy to reach out to this other one because this is higher instinct, this is superior. Just like when you get to a mango tree, you start with the ones lower before going to the ones on the top. Now, but you still find that there are still people who operate there. This is where the human beings operate. Very few of them. Why we have majority here. And these two things, it does not depend on your education. You can be a professor and still be struggling at the lower instincts. You can be the richest man in the world and you're still struggling here. You can be so poor and you're up there. That is where the power belongs. So you'll find a kind of a dynamics or dynamism between these two. We try to, sometimes you go to up, sometimes you come down, and you might exhibit certain kind of traits at some proportional sizes. So you might find those who are about 80% of this and still 20% of that. While some could be at the middle, 50-50, depending on the circumstances. But you could find those who are like 90% of human beings, but they still have some traits of animalistic, no matter how. So long as you're a man, You have these two. Even the bandits you have there behaving in the bush and the forest, doing what they do, as bad as they are, they could have like 90% of this, but they still have traits, about 10% of human beings. Sometimes when circumstances change immediately, you discover that they have conscience, they still have spirituality. Of course, when you're talking about spirituality, it's not religion. It's not religion. In fact, religion actually should be one trying to express spirituality at this zone. That's what religion is all about, because it brings about division, tribe, all these things you see. So it's a dynamism. We are keep moving, but the real journey in life is how we can move from this zone to the next zone. That is the real journey you see everybody struggling every day. Every day, anybody you meet in the way, in your office, whatever you're doing, is a struggle between trying how do we get from here to the next. And when you eventually move from there to the upper zone, this is what they call the ultimate human civilization. Finally, when they say this guy is civil, is when you are behaving this way. Civilization is not the number of infrastructure you have, it's not technology, it's not spaceship, it's not all those things that we think. No. Any country, you can have all the skyscrapers in the world, and majority of the citizens are still struggling here. It doesn't make. Now, when you see those countries you want to go to, you want to jackpot, you want to run to, you love those countries because majority of their citizens operate at this level. Why the countries you want to avoid are those countries that majority of their citizens operate at the lower level. All of us all want to be here. And today, what we are celebrating today is actually this zone. That is the Africa Arise Summit celebration of humanity. And this is what humanity is all about. Those who are able to struggle above this their demarcation line to get into the human level, or at least have majority of their traits being expressed at the humanity region. And that is why we're here. That's just my illustration. Thank you. Then I have just a few photos. I will illustrate. So my address will be based on these few photos. Now, when you look at this first one, I call it a child with a light lamp. And what is actually telling about is that you find a child whose world is so dark, the world around him, so terrible, but he doesn't care. He focuses on the light he carries, he brought to the world, and keep on doing that good thing he knows. So in the dark world where he belongs, the only place you find any little kind of life or light is him. That place he's standing, because that's the only place he's shining. That's where you can find green grass in this whole dark world, and he focuses on that thing. He doesn't care what goes around him. He doesn't care what we are doing. He focuses on doing that good. And that is the only light in that community. Then you can imagine when everyone would be shining their own light as they have, that should lighten up the whole world and the whole community. If you can shine yours, and that is what eventually why we describe darkness as an absence of light. Nothing like evil. It's because the good men are quiet. That's why you find the evil you find in this world. And some are not courageous to speak or stand on good. So light in the midst of darkness, like I call that, we all come with light to shine for others to see. We can ignore the darkness and the ills around us and focus on our light. Darkness is the absence of light, like I said. Then this next photo is depicting synergy, collaboration, the same collaboration that we've come to celebrate. And this is a community showing that community is strength, networking is power, shining together shines brighter. Do not aim for individual heroism, but collective greatness. AAS provides opportunities for collective impact in various ways. Identify colleagues with common purpose, dreams, and calling in this summit. Reach out to each other to shine together for the value and joy in serving others selflessly. So the body system is a model of synergy. When you look at the body system, the lungs, the heart, the legs, you can see every of them working together to support the whole body. And they don't really care what others are doing. That is the perfect collaboration. That's when you are healthy, because all the whole systems and tissues in your body are working together. So we are blessed with different abilities to express our power toward achieving our dreams. And there are three main categories of people in this journey. of the ultimate human civilization who could work together to achieve this ultimate purpose. The first category is that you may have a dream and you have technical skills, professional skills, vocational skills, but you don't have the money, you don't have the finances to live up your dream. So what do? Look out for those organizations who have already established and offer what you have, so long as they are working around your purpose and for your passion and for your dreams. Work with them. Another category is those who have the money, they have the finances, they have the resources, but they don't have the technical skills, and they have a dream, but they don't have the technical skills, they don't have the time to work on that dream. So these are particularly for the funders, the philanthropists, and the donors. Look out for those that are already established or who have the time and the skills, and fund them. Work together with them to make your dream alive. Then you have the third one who have a dream as well, and they have the time and resources, but they don't have the skills and the money. The same thing. Look for who to collaborate and work with. Now, the photo also, as you see, depicts the African proverb that says, if you want to walk fast, walk alone, but if you want to walk far, you walk together. And this summit is a perfect synergy or perfect expression of collaboration among all the program management teams, like you'll find in your brochure. Then the third photo shows a woman who is a teacher, but when you look at that old lady, you discover that she's more than a teacher. Her job is teaching, and she's paid for that. But in this case, she finds one of the pupils whose clothes, is torn. Rather than sending him or her home, go and meet your mother, whatever, she becomes a mother to that child. And she's not paid for this service. But you can see passion with career, or passion inside career, calling and career coming together. And there are cases where you will find your calling separate from your career. You are doing something else, but you have a passion for something else, but you find a way of combining the two. So this is a typical depiction of selflessness and career versus calling. Career is what you do to earn a living. Calling is what you do to make a living. However, you can find both in separate expressions or in one expression. The photo is also a depiction of service driven by compassion versus service driven by benefits. If our career or desire for money or social status and fame are more important to us than the joy of service to others, then I advise you that you look elsewhere outside humanitarian services. But the good news is that you will find, or you will never lack anything when you sincerely serve with your heart to fulfill your purpose in life, either in your career or in your calling. Avoid JOAT, what I call JOAT, Jack of all trades. I'm advising my NGO colleagues. Jack of all trades are those we find they are doing literally or practically everything. They are everywhere. If you bring fund for health, they are doing health. They're in environment, they are in JBV, they're in youth empowerment, they're in everything. They're just practically doing everything. That is called JOAT. And I will tell you something. From experience, I've been privileged to have worked from the lowest cadre of the NGO or CSOs, where you do practical task implementation, and was able to rise my cadre to principal partner in the NGO before I worked as a founder for CDC, US CDC, right? And I've discovered something. When you meet those funders or those donors who are sincerely passionate about a dream and they want to achieve something and they're interested, if they're coming with their funds and they discover that you are doing whole lots of things, they'll quietly leave you without telling you, because they know that you are transactional. You are in there for business. He's a businessman, not NGO. But for those funders who are also a bit funny in the agenda, they want to achieve something, and they know that you are following money. So if they drop money and say, okay, please, I'm now doing animal rights or goat rights, you start campaigning for goats because there is money. And it's easy for them to do. They'll just drop the money and ask you, this is what they want, and you follow them. But for somebody like this lady, if you give her money or maybe give her another job in oil and gas, where she'll be paid so much, I will tell you, she won't still go, because this is where she finds her passion. She wants to do that one thing that her ability could stand for. So that is that. Then let's talk a bit, just bit about local problems versus foreign agenda. It is also worth noting that many development services are not localized or based on our local problems, but driven and influenced by foreign resources and agenda. Some sectors or problems seem already saturated, and many more organizations are still sprouting toward those problems. Yet, there is no visible indication that those problems are being addressed in commiseration to the resources being expended. However, many other obvious local problems are still heavily neglected, while we are thrilled with distractions by foreign-based agenda and interests. And local problems such as local lack of community government accountability and responsibility, degeneration of organic food and agriculture resulting to pollution by foreign inorganic food, diminishing family values, which destroys our children's moral intelligence, widening gap between the ruling class and their communities, inadequate power supply, lawlessness among citizens, poor community infrastructure, lack of, so many of them, community insecurity. These are all local problems that we have, right? However, when you consider, I also want to mention something like even the extinction of our local traditional festivals and our local value for festivals and traditions are already collapsing. And you may never or likely find NGOs working to restore that makes us Africans and that we love so much that bring us together. So foreign aided agenda, just for you to know, they are not interested in our local problems and will never solve the problems for us. You have a situation like I mentioned before, when you get to I've had that experience when I was a principal partner, got to a community, they didn't have anything, no lights, stark poverty, no power. And you find an NGO inside that kind of situation campaigning for animal rights. And what is the animal rights? How to take care of your dogs, your goats, put fine houses, put AC for the animals, put lights. Meanwhile, human beings are living in darkness. That is to tell you that it's foreign driven. That's a very quick way. So one of the most concerning problems in Africa after bad governance is the increasing loss of value for integrity and diligence service among our younger ones. This is visibly reflected in their lack of patient, value-based services to others. Hence, they are motivated by the quick money-based services. And I want to let you know that most successful careers you've seen today of services begin with selfless volunteering services to communities and organizations that need their services. Don't stay idle. Help. Add values to people and organizations who may need you, even if they don't pay you well or they don't pay enough. So when you volunteer your services sincerely, it opens doors of mutual benefits that will earn you more experience, more opportunities, and improved network. Another little story I had when I was young, my experience when we were still in primary school. You will get into a bus, for example. Once you see an elder come into the bus and there is no seat, you will quickly leave and beckon on the elder to come and sit. And we enjoy it because we enjoy that joy of saying, oh, thank you, my dear, thank you, my son. We enjoy it. All of a sudden, something happened along the way. Some elders will come in, they will sit. In order to reciprocate that virtue, what would they do? They will give you money to say thank you, or they pay for your transport fare. And all of a sudden, our mindset changed. So whenever we are sitting down, somebody comes into the bus, we first weigh the person. This person pay our transport fare? If you are looking wretched, nobody will stand up. We'll just keep quiet. But if you look good, and what will betide you, if you give our seats to you, and they get down without paying our transport, that's a big problem. We'll have some kind of wrong prayers in our hearts. So the joy of the value immediately changed. So we started looking for money-based services. So you have to pay for us before we stand up. Now, a little bit of charity and arms, and I'll end here. Charity and arms. I know many NGOs work on that. Feeding people or giving charity is a very good, a very good gesture to solve the immediate problems and needs of people at the time. However, the greatest development service you can offer anyone is to help them cross the demarcation line from the lower being to the higher being, like I mentioned before. Once they cross that line, they would understand the difference between living to survive and surviving to live. That's the difference between survival and living. So to survive, they will always come to you to light their candles and fill their bellies and stomach. But to live, they will use the little light you've given to them to try to fulfill their higher purpose by lighting other people's candles, and with time, the whole world will be lightened up. So, ladies and gentlemen, the world is in a battle between light and darkness, between our lower beings and higher beings. The battle in the world is not between political parties, it's not between races or husbands and wives or different genders, not between ethnic groups or different religions, but between good and bad, reflecting in different forms in our society, in our everyday lives, disguised to distract us from the main battle, which is the battle to live above our inferior beings and lighten up our lives as human beings. So in this summit, we are here to identify, honor, and celebrate real and true power of Nigerians who are truly rising above their lower instincts to operate in their higher realms. By so, we encourage others who are still struggling in their lower instincts to find courage and strength to arise to their higher beings where the real power is found. And this is demonstrated in character, selflessness of our services to humanity. Nigerians, Africans, let us arise and build the nations of our dreams for the world to follow. The nation that will model the true power of human civilization that is stronger than the atomic bombs, stronger than the nuclear warheads. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Arise, Africa Arise Summit 2025. Thank you.